Honorable Chair, fellow panelists, I am indeed indebted to UNFPA and the people of Zimbabwe for this platform. I must say that it is a very important platform that we should all take advantage of. I would start by saying, and picking up from what Arthur said, ICPD was meant to be 20 years, but now it's 30 years and counting. He asked us to take stock and reposition for post-2030 agenda. Yes, the 3 zeros, we're all behind. Ghana is behind in the 3 zeros with unmet need for family planning, which is more than 20%. The harmful practices against girls and women, and then also the preventable maternal deaths. China told us their maternal mortality ratio is less than 16 per 100,000 live births. And we are counting over 300,000, over 300 mortalities per 100,000. And so I would attempt to link in ICPD issues to the global megatrends as we've been asked to do, because we have to identify priorities and support of the post-2030 agenda. We need to take stock even as we celebrate, we have been told. And so taking stock with unmet need for family planning, preventable maternal death, gender-based violence and harmful practices, what are the effective strategies? Which I will attempt to come out with. I think that the continent in which I come from, especially ECOWAS, Sub-Saharan Africa, we need to strongly look at production of contraceptive commodities. Because we can talk about demand creation. If we do not have our own supply of commodities, it's going to be impossible to meet the demand. And I'm talking about producing our own commodities so that we do not see it as a Western agenda. And so we have PPD here, we have China supporting us, we have other partners supporting us. And I would think that we should look at that, funds to produce our own commodities. Because as I said, it will be impossible to address our 3 zeros with high stockouts. Again, we also need to be linking the ICPD issues to the global trends. We have always spoken about the advantages of investing in reproductive health information and services for 30 years, and we're still not up to it, and so the narrative has to change. And I'm thinking that the narrative should be the cost of inaction, because inaction also violates the right to employment, the right to security as is being seen in the Sahel, the right to protection from the push factors of illegal migration, including legal migration. So the cost of inaction is, I think, post-CPD, after 30 years, the way we should all go. Low life expectancy in Africa. Africa has the lowest life expectancy. And I think that it is also a price we pay for inaction. As I've already mentioned, insecurity in the Sahel. We have a lot of our ministers and presidents going to the UN talking about security issues. But security is a consequence of inaction. We also need to advocate for country positions and also for ECOWAS position. So how are we positioning ICPD, turning it around with the cost of inaction in ECOWAS? I think that if the conversation prioritizes the goal of ICPD, we will reduce unemployment, we will improve life expectancy, we will reduce migration in all its forms, legal and illegal. We will improve peace in the Sahel and beyond. And so ICPD after 30, a value investment in reproductive health education and services is the way I think we should go. It is an economic and well-being intervention, as mentioned this morning by Uganda, and has rightly positioned so, and it is important that we take some cues from that. I think we also need to take some cues from Zimbabwe. The President, His Excellency Dr. Emerson Dambuzi Mnangagwa, said, in Zimbabwe they have criminalized early and forced marriage. I also think it is the way to go for sub-Saharan Africa if we have to meet the unmet need for family planning, reduce gender-based violence, and prevent preventable maternal deaths. China's population goals to people's needs. They've changed population goals to people's needs and well-being, which is the way to go. PPD is primarily about sharing knowledge and practices so that we can all have good lives. And so if changing the population goals to people's needs would improve their health and well-being, the question is, why not? I would end with a very short story about how the answer you get based on the question you asked. There were two people, met a rabbi and said, the two people said, one person said, you cannot smoke whilst reading the holy book. And that was the argument. So they said, the person said, let me prove it with you. Went to the rabbi and asked him, can you smoke whilst reading the Bible? He said, no, can you read the Bible whilst smoking? He said, no, it's a holy book. You cannot smoke whilst reading the Bible. So he came back to his friend and he said, you see, I told you. And he said, because of how you asked the question. So he went back to him and said, can you read the Bible whilst smoking? And the rabbi said, yes, the holy book is for sinners. And so even whilst you are smoking, you can read the Bible. So I think the way we ask the question would help us so we do not go another 30 years ICPD. Thank you.